This is GamesAtWork.biz, your weekly podcast about gaming, technology, and play. Your hosts are Michael Martin, Andy Piper, and Michael Rowe. The thoughts and opinions on this podcast are those of the hosts and guests alone and are not the opinions of any organization which they have been, are, or may be affiliated with. This is episode 523, 266 Starlings. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Michael Rowe here. It's Friday. I get to talk tech with my friends, but this week it's only one friend. Andy Piper, how are you?
I'm still here. Yes, I barely left my seat since last Friday when I was talking to the other Michael. So
yeah, I was about to say, we've had this Michael swap going on.
We have the automatic Michael disambiguation process in play.
We'll do that again next week.
Great. I love it. Yeah. should make it very easy for our listeners. As long as they check.
They'll go, oh yeah, it's Andy and Michael.
Yeah, there you go.
So I never remember what AM stands for. Not amplitude modulated.
Anti-meridian.
AM PM.
Anti-meridian.
That's it.
Before noon.
And post-meridian is
correct.
Afternoon.
Yes.
Well, speaking of post-meridian, no, not at all.
I was trying to figure out why you suddenly started talking about AM and then realized Andy and Michael. Right, yes.
Yes. Instead of Michael and Andy.
Mergers and acquisitions.
Yes. So we've got some fun topics this week and some other topics too, beginning with something that I think all of us saw this article in one way or the other about ChatGPT's agent clicks.
I'm beginning to think you might be a bot, though, to be honest. How are you going to prove it to me that you're not a bot?
Well, I'm going to click the I am not a bot button.
Oh, I see.
Which is so funny because I was doing some work earlier this year with a small company, and they were using, as part of their augmentation to AI data, they were using a couple of different third-party scraping tools.
Okay, screen scraping tools.
And there's a whole ecosystem of screen scraping tools out there that you pay for, and they all kind of ran into the wall with things like LinkedIn and a couple other sites, which I thought was kind of interesting. But I'm betting, based off of this article, that we don't have that problem with some of the AI data consumers because they're just clicking through "I'm not a robot," and that's what this article from Ars Technica was talking about. You want to take us through it briefly?
Yeah, I mean, it's an article that is on Ars Technica. It's been on other sites as well this week about OpenAI's ChatGPT agent, which is a tool that lets it basically control its own web browser. So you can sit back and it will start driving your mouse pointer and moving around and doing stuff to navigate the web. And apparently it requires use of permission before buying things, for example, or doing anything that might cost you, have real world consequences. But evidently somebody on Reddit posted a proof of it just casually clicking the I am not a robot button, having established that it needed to do so to carry on doing things. And I won't say necessarily worse than that, but doubly ironically, it's the one on Cloudflare, which is supposed to be, have a very strong anti-AI bot protections. So yeah,
I was thinking about this. I mean, it's AI, so it's a buzzworthy article, right? But I mean, I've developed graphic UI tests that do similar things, right? I mean, there's lots of tools out there, and I guess if you just add one teeny tiny bit of variability into the mouse movement, that would resolve the issue. Because it takes, most of these single click ones take multiple telemetry data readings to figure out, is that robotic clicking or human clicking?
So there's a few elements of this. I think one of them is this is using the single click CAPTCHA device to get through it, rather than one of the multi, pick an image, slide something into place, all of those kind of things that require additional processing or understanding of what's on the screen. So that's one part of it. And the other thing is, as people point out, all it's doing is repeating what it's learned, right? It doesn't necessarily know that it's a bot. It's just repeating learned behavior, which is exactly how all of this stuff works. And if it's been watching or screen recordings of other people, humans,
do this all the time,
doing that, then of course it's going to learn that that's how you get through that particular gate.
And as you say, it's repeating what it's seen. It didn't learn anything. And we've talked about that on the show many times.
Exactly right.
It doesn't know anything.
So it's not solving the more complicated ones of these, because those do require understanding of what's on the screen, potentially moving things around to unlock the next section. But absolutely, it would. There's no reason to know for it not to succeed at this particular challenge.
Well, speaking of not knowing anything, we saw an article on 404 Media this week about Meta going all in on AI by even allowing the people interviewing for developer positions to use AI during their interview process.
I, once again, just at the mention of 404 Media, just want to shout out to that publication, just because the number of really hot stories that they've published this week has again been incredibly high. And this one is interesting, but it wasn't quite as dramatic, I don't think, as some of the other things they published this week. This one talks about, Meta evidently allowing candidates to use AI during their job interviews. And we spoke about this before we started recording, that it's arguably another skill, quote unquote prompt engineering, or whatever you want to call it. It's similar to what Michael and I were talking about last week in terms of if you know how to use a search engine well, if you know how to optimize your query for the best results, the quickest answers. Similarly to this, I guess the same gotchas apply to last week's comment, which is that all of this stuff is moving very fast. So you also need to demonstrate that you can keep up and adapt to whatever the latest way of interacting is. I don't know. I don't know how to feel about it particularly.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat to some degree. We are seeing a massive shift going on where the ability to effectively use these AI engines of various kinds,
these tools,
is a desirable skill for companies. And the ability to demonstrate that you can provide the skills a company is looking for, at that level, I don't have a problem with it. Then I go back to everything else we've discussed for the last couple of years and how bad the output is, or can be, especially if you don't know what you're getting or how to phrase the question. I can imagine, because I've done a lot with some agents and stuff recently, the results of your output, if you don't know the system, if you don't know the language, and you don't know the nuance of what the results are, that you would gladly accept an answer and be providing really bad code.
If you are being interviewed, and I very rarely interviewed for this particular set of skills myself, but if you are being interviewed as a senior engineer in coding language or framework Z,
X.
Right? Y. I refuse to use X as my example anymore.
Yes, I understand.
Then you would be expected, or you should be expected, to know the nuances and the ins and outs and the specific optimizations that you might need to get by and make get the best results. I found it particularly interesting and sad that this article calls out another company, ultracode.ai, who literally have a massive landing page showing pass any software engineering interview with invisible AI, with an example of doing a video call with the interviewer and it prompting you with all of the answers, which is just kind of makes me a little bit ill. It seems utterly pointless to me. You're not demonstrating anything in that case.
Well, it's so funny. I can't remember if you guys talked about this last week on the show. I think you did, and I've seen it all over the place. In the U.S., there's been a huge ring cracked, if you want to call it that, of North Korean remote coders hiring on as remote developers for U.S. companies.
Oh, nice.
And finding a local person in the U.S. to basically house a farm of laptops that they can come in, and they're a local IP address. And here's the tool that says I can pass any interview, assuming you can get past the AI screeners, right? I can then not really know the skill. Yes, we'll get to that later. And this whole idea of, are we hiring skills, or are we hiring people who can exercise the tools to get through the interview?
All I can say is that we didn't talk about it on the show last week, and you must have been listening to one of the other podcasts, the better podcast that Michael alluded to. Listeners not having
4 or 5.
They only listen to our one when they've got to the end of their list, and because they don't have anything better to listen to, which I refuse to believe, of course. I know our listeners are loyal and listen to us because we know what we're talking about. We can drive podcasts better than an AI for now.
That's right. You couldn't take our catalog of 523 episodes now, plus a couple of special ones, feed them into Notebook LLM, and generate a good GamesAtWork.biz episode.
You sure?
Well,
you sure you're not a robot?
I was almost going to say, can you generate a good GamesAtWork.biz episode?
Maybe we should start providing a detailed prompt to our agent to do that.
Yes.
Anyway, let's talk about what's coming new. What's new? How things are going in Apple land.
Well, one of the really new things is, I think I mentioned a couple of weeks ago that I took the dive and I upgraded my podcasting rig to macOS Tahoe.
How's that going?
Well, if this episode is edited as well as the rest of them, it's going fine. If it's not, you'll know that we ran into a couple of audio problems this week. But there's a great detail article that Jason Snell over at Six Colors put out on the first look of iPadOS 26 public beta.
Yeah.
Now, I've been using the developer beta since it came out, and there's a lot to like on the iPad.
Okay.
There's a lot to like. There are things that I will say are still under development, right? And most of what I've seen online about complaints have to do with the things that are still under development. Basically, the look and feel of glass, right? And I even have a bug in one of my apps that I wrote that's really annoying, in that the photo picker that I have is returning an image, but there's no image.
Oh
yeah.
That sounds pretty bad.
Which is a big problem for something that's built around images. So it worked in beta 3. It doesn't work in beta 4. And of course, developer beta 4 is the public beta. So they broke that. They broke audio on my Mac, right? So, but you had indicated you had not upgraded on.
I haven't upgraded anything. I'm considering trying it on the iPad. I don't use the iPad as much as I used to, and yeah, I might give it a go. Just because I generally I have tried to get ahead of the curve. I normally wait to the release candidate and install at least the release candidate, so I know what my friends and family are gonna face a week later.
To complain about.
Yeah.
Well, one of the interesting things is, the biggest thing of iPadOS 26 is the multitasking, multi-windowing,
and everything I've heard and read about it is that it obviously bloats out the window frames, because you've now got like frames around things, rather than it being necessarily full screen, and therefore you lose real estate on the screen. And I've seen a lot of people complaining, especially on Reddit, about wanting slide over mode, and that's probably the thing that I used quite a lot as well. So I will have to adjust my behavior to learn the new way of doing things. But I think it could be good. It could be great. I also am not. I've spoken about this before. I'm not yet convinced by the glass UI stuff. We'll see.
I'll give two reactions to the UI things. One, I rarely used slide over in the past because it got confusing to me. So it's not a miss for me, because you can just take a window and slide it almost to the edge of the screen. So only a little line there that you can pick it up and slide it back. So you can slide over tons of windows to slide over. So that's a use case thing. But I do think the one point that is made is I've got the 13-inch, so the larger iPad Pro, and I even hook it up to an external 27-inch monitor at times, and the extra window Chrome is enough to realize that you're losing space.
Yeah.
It's not on the Mac, and the Mac has always had the extra window Chrome, so you've already lost it. You're used to not having it. So to me, that's kind of a, what are you used to? And I do find that the menu bar being there in the center of the screen instead of to the left.
I noticed that the text elements are all in the middle on the screenshots.
Yeah. And then the one last thing, and then we'll move on, because this is not a Mac show, is the stoplights, right? So the buttons for close, minimize, and maximize. So they zoom in and out based off of your cursor being up there, because they hide them to make them as small as possible so they don't take up a lot of space.
Right, I see.
That they don't add
so they
the
pop up
Chrome
if your cursor's near there.
If it's near there.
But what if
there's all kinds of screens that have window elements up there.
And what if I'm using my finger instead of a pointer?
It's about the same.
So I want to close the window, but there's no red thing to close it with my finger without using the trackpad.
No, if you take your finger up there, as you get close to the screen, it'll pop out.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Because at least on the Pro models,
right?
So anyway,
I've got a previous gen Pro model, so I'm not sure, but we'll see.
So there'll be some fun coming up. But speaking of fun, I think
we are
Michael
meant to be a gaming show, right? I talk about gaming technology and play as well as work. So
yeah, and I think. Did you post this, or did Michael about?
I think this was Michael's contribution.
Disturbing
for the week.
Demo.
Yeah.
So basically, this is an article from Futurism.com, and it ties in part of the SAG-AFTRA agreement, right, which took a long time to be reached. The union agreement about video game performers and other actors, to have some kind of guardrails around AI and their work, and whether or not things can be replaced by AI, etc. And so there's a Australian company, Replica Studios, that released a demo for the Matrix franchise, a game for the Matrix.
Yeah.
And as I get it, they used AI to generate the output of the NPCs. and the dialogue of the NPCs? Is that what we're supposed to get out of how they created this demo?
So it's a bit confusing because
Yes.
the story on futurism summarizes a story on the New York Times, also published this week. And the one in futurism talks about this game which came out two years ago. So it was a Matrix game, and
Wasn't even aware.
And it refers to this demo where these AI characters seemingly got confused of their own nature. They started sort of panicking inside the game about the fact. So,
but isn't that this was story
2 years
of the Matrix?
ago? 2 years ago. Well, maybe, sort of, but this story is interesting for other reasons, because it's also been the New York Times story has also been widely panned and ridiculed online this week, because it also refers to, and this is the paragraph that people have been calling out on from the New York Times. Quote, "Most experts acknowledge that a takeover by artificial intelligence is coming for the video game industry within the next 5 years, and executives have already started preparing to restructure their companies in anticipation. After all, it was one of the first sectors to deploy AI programming in the 1980s, with the 4 ghosts who chase Pac-Man each responding differently to the player's real-time movements."
So it sounds like it's written by somebody who doesn't understand AI.
Correct. So this story has been widely quoted in my feeds this week based on that element, not on the element which is referred to at the beginning and is very unclear about a 2-year-old game in which some demo was apparently showing the characters freaking out and they themselves being some kind of AI.
Again, which is the story of the Matrix.
It's just not clear about what this is, and it's just very confusing in terms of both elements of the story, and the New York Times is appalling. Well, the New York Times is childlike reporting of the topic.
Yes. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, I think, with the NVIDIA story at one of the game conferences where one of the gaming studio execs talking about AI would allow them to develop games faster, blah, 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 blah. And our point then, and I think we stick to it, is that was a self-serving statement by that CEO about their business. So I think this was a great story. You want to go to the next one?
I'm excited
I don't know what to say about it.
I'm excited about the next one. The next one was a music video that I came across this week that was again shared on one of my social feeds, and I clicked through to it, and it's really quite brilliant. It's Gunship. The band is Gunship, and the video is Tech Noir 2, featuring John Carpenter and Charlie Simpson. It's an official music video. It's all done in claymation. It's a follow-up sequel to a 9-year-old video for Tech Noir, the original track. It's all very kind of synthwave rock style, I would say.
Loved it.
I really enjoyed it, but the whole thing is done in this kind of claymation animation. It's about 5 minutes long. There's a whole storyline in it. And it's so very 80s, early 90s video game centric. There are so many references to movies, games, the whole kind of milieu of that
blowing
era.
On the cartridge.
There's blowing into the video cartridges. There's Terminator references. It's
Hellraiser.
narrated by John carpenter. It's got the main character looks like Penny out of Inspector Gadget.
That's where I recognize her.
There's a whole thing in the beginning where she's using the Amiga, and there's literally like the animated character on the screen looks exactly like Penny with a little smartwatch, like in the original Inspector Gadget cartoons. It's phenomenal. I didn't have the sound pumped up the first time I watched it. I just enjoyed the animations, and it's really great. It's really great. So if you're a listener to this show and you're into games as you're likely to be, or video gaming, then if you haven't seen this yet, got to go look at it. It's really good. And whether or not you like the music is another thing. I happened to enjoy that one and started to listen to more of their back catalogue. But yeah,
cool. Well, I thought all the references were incredible, and like you, I'm a big fan of that style of music. So I listened to it at a low volume. I'm going to crank it up next time I watch it. But speaking of cool animations, you found a link this week to the Time Flies game.
Yeah.
What's that about?
You're a fly.
And there's a clock.
And flies don't have a long lifespan, right? So it's kind of this pixelated but quite nice. We were talking the other week about the Mac Paint images with the very kind of thin pixelated lines artwork, and you could do some quite sophisticated stuff. So there's a lot of similarities in this sort of art style, I think. This is available on PS5, Nintendo Switch, Steam, Epic, and the Mac App Store. And I fully intended to play it before we went to record this week. It's by, I think I came across it because of the fact that it's in cooperation with Panic, the folks that make the Playdate. And I'm pretty sure I saw some media about it from there. The website's quite fun because as you move your pointer around the screen, the little fly, if it's around, flies off. I'm looking forward to trying it. It looks very very simple graphics, and I'm curious about it.
Game.
So
cool.
Yeah, I just found the fly again. Sorry, I'm just chasing the fly around the screen with my pointer. So
yeah, I noticed it and I was like, oh, he's walking across the top of the video. I was like, he's not part of the video. He's literally on top of the video. Oh, wait a minute. As I move my cursor to it, he jumped over it. And I was like, oh, cool.
So it's made with Unity. It's a single-player little adventure game. Your life is short. You can learn an instrument, read a book, become rich, get drunk, or make someone smile.
In the life of a fly. Yes. And I remember in, was it Biology 101 or 102 in college, where we had to do the fruit fly experiments because, as you say, flies have a short lifespan. And it was a genetic thing, and you could count the color of their eyes and other things.
I have a terrible feeling that my music was playing for the last 2 minutes, and because I just closed a tab and noticed that sound changed. So you may or may not have a load of background music playing whilst I was talking before. If you couldn't hear it, that's weird. We've had audio problems this week.
Imagine that. Okay. Well, speaking of weird, there was another video that you found about saving image data on a strange location.
Yeah, so I think the best reporting of this actually came out on Tom's Hardware later in the week, but the video that came out earlier in the week was a 30-minute YouTube video where you have to sort of skip to 14 minutes in before the interesting bit happens. But the headline is that you can store data on birds, as in real, actual avian creatures that fly around. And specifically, it takes advantage of the fact that starlings will learn and mimic what they hear. There's a whole section on why they didn't teach this to parrots or other birds that mimic. It was specifically taught to a young starling. And this person manages to convert a picture of a bird that he draws into an audio waveform, and then embeds it in the song memory of a young starling, and then retrieves the same thing back from the starling and manages to reconstitute the image. Now, he spends about 15 minutes of the video talking about all of the necessary information that you need to understand and the considerations. But then he moves on and actually demonstrates about 17 minutes in that you can actually do it. And there's quite a good coverage as well on Tom's Hardware that we'll have in the show notes talking about this. I did some back of the podcast cover calculations based on the length of last week's show and the size of the audio file, and the size of the PNG file that was used in this instance. And I believe it would take 266 starlings to store an episode of the show. It may be tricky to retrieve that episode because you would have to persuade those starlings to flock together and then repeat their learned bits of song one after the other, or have to do some incredibly clever science to demux it all and figure it all out.
All you gotta do is you put them in a giant box, and you take a string and you tie it to their legs, and you put a small hole in one end of the box, and a long tube to your ears,
right?
And you get the first starling to start down the path.
I think you should definitely and very quickly
patent that.
Patent that. Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
It's called a starling data string.
Oh, amazing. Well, look, on that bombshell, on that incredible note, we look forward to sharing more episodes of our show with you via Starling in the future, possibly in very, very small chunks. But if you do come across a starling, then see if you can record its audio, and maybe you'll get a fragment of Michael Martin recording his element of the show remotely this week.
Yes. Well, it's been great. I will not be here next week. You guys got it covered, and to everybody else, all I got to say is see ya.
See ya.
You've been listening to GamesAtWork.biz, the podcast about gaming, technology, and play. We are part of the Blueberry Podcasting Network, and would like to thank the band Random Encounters for their song, Big Blue. You can follow us at our website at GamesAtWork.biz.